This picture from 1947 shows the former camp area and in the foreground the crematory building. It was built in autumn 1944 because the number of dead in Melk had risen dramatically in the second half of the year. This led the camp SS to consider having a crematory built directly in Melk and not, as before, to take the dead bodies to the crematoria in Mauthausen and Gusen and burn them there. The crematory building with the crematory furnace was built by local construction companies with the forced labor of the prisoners. At times, the head of the Mauthausen crematorium, SS-man Martin Roth, was also present in Melk and supervised the progress of construction work. The crematory furnace of the Kori company, which was mainly specialized in the burning of animal cadavers, probably went into operation in December 1944, at which time 4 Polish Jewish-categorized prisoners were transferred from Mauthausen to Melk as corpse burners. Let us now walk together through the individual rooms of the former crematory building. I will briefly discuss their original function during the existence of the camp. Later I will refer in detail to the history of the building as a memorial place after 1945. Just left of the entrance to the building was the cooling room, where the dead bodies were stored, and which originally had no window. This window was only installed after the end of the war. In this room, the corpses were stored before they were burned in the crematorium furnace on the opposite side of the building. As you see, the room has double walls on all 4 sides, which kept the room cool. And additionally, there was probably a refrigerator in this room too. We now move on to the former administrative area of the crematorium. Here, the prisoner clerks and the SS leader of the crematorium had their offices and managed the organizational work of the burning process. Today, as you can see, there are some exhibition panels there which show and describe the still existing tunnel system in Roggendorf beyond the Wachberg, which is several kilometers long. Now we enter the large room where the dissection table is located. Here you can see some artifacts of former prisoners today. In this room, the dead bodies were examined on the dissection table for any golden teeth that were removed and sent to Berlin. Afterwards, the dead bodies were taken to the crematory furnace. At times, this room probably also served as a second cooling room, when the number of corpses exceeded the capacity of the first cooling room. We move on now to the former quarters of the crematorium command. The already mentioned 4 Polish Jewish inmates who were used to burn the corpses were housed separately from the other camp inmates and were considered to be so-called secret keepers. Today, some artifacts from the tunnel system in Roggendorf can be found here. In addition to an old shoe, the ball-bearing cages produced in the tunnels are also clearly visible. Finally, we visit the largest room of the former crematorium, which still houses the crematory furnace and which is now the actual memorial room. The memorial room can be easily recognized by the many decorations, flowers, plaques, and also by the wall of names, dedicated to the 4,884 victims of the Camp Melk. The crematory oven was powered by coke, which was delivered and stored in the small adjacent room. Between December 1944 and mid of April 1945, Around 3,500 dead bodies were burned in this crematory oven. The ashes were then probably poured into the river Danube. The next part of our tour will deal with the question of possible spaces for action in the concentration camp.